It is my view that the deceitful way the interview was obtained substantially influenced what my mother said. The interview was a major contribution to making my parents' relationship worse and has since hurt countless others. It's quite a moment for...
The silence inside the palace corridors was broken not by ceremony, but by revelation. When explosive claims tied to the past relationship surrounding Queen Camilla surfaced, the ripple effect reached the very core of royal financial governance. Prince William, long regarded as a careful guardian of institutional integrity, moved swiftly and decisively, initiating a restructuring that stunned insiders and observers alike. Funds previously flowing toward extended family connections were suddenly halted, not as an act of personal conflict, but as a calculated effort to protect the credibility of the crown. The decision marked a turning point, one where tradition yielded to accountability, and where the future king demonstrated that loyalty to the monarchy outweighed all personal sensitivities. As details of the bombshell revelations emerged, they painted a portrait of blurred boundaries between private relationships and institutional resources, a situation William deemed incompatible with the modern expectations placed upon the royal family. His response was measured yet firm, emphasizing transparency, oversight, and a clear separation between royal duties and external influences. Advisors described the move as both symbolic and practical, reinforcing the message that royal finances must serve public trust rather than private association. The shift echoed far beyond palace walls, signaling a generational change in leadership style, one defined by discipline, strategic foresight, and a commitment to safeguarding legacy. The decision also highlighted the evolving role of the Prince of Wales as a steward of reform, someone willing to confront uncomfortable truths in order to strengthen the institution. For supporters, it was proof of principled leadership. For critics, it raised questions about the delicate balance between family unity and institutional responsibility. Yet, William's calm determination remained unwavering, suggesting that stability sometimes requires difficult choices. In the broader narrative of monarchy, this episode stands as a dramatic chapter where revelation triggered reform and where the next generation asserted authority with quiet but undeniable force. The palace, once defined by tradition alone, now reflected a modern reality. Accountability, transparency, and strategic control had become essential pillars of survival. And as the dust settled, one message became unmistakably clear. Under Prince William's watch, the future of the crown will be shaped not by inherited assumptions, but by decisive action, careful governance, and an unyielding commitment to protecting the institution's integrity. The aftermath of the decision unfolded with quiet intensity that only heightened its significance. Within the royal administration, financial officers began reviewing decades of allocations, tracing every channel through which resources had been distributed. What emerged was not necessarily scandal, but a complex web of traditional allowances that had evolved over time without modern scrutiny. Prince William's directive was clear. Every arrangement must now withstand contemporary standards of transparency. This review was not framed as punishment, but as institutional reform, an effort to ensure that the monarchy's financial structure reflected accountability and purpose. As the revelations from Camilla's former husband continued to circulate, the narrative shifted from personal drama to systemic change. William's move symbolized a generational shift in leadership, one that prioritized structure over sentiment and long-term credibility over short-term harmony. Observers noted how carefully the Prince of Wales navigated the delicate family dynamics. He avoided public confrontation, choosing instead to act through formal channels and administrative decisions. This restraint reinforced the seriousness of the action. By cutting off funds quietly but firmly, he signaled that reform did not require spectacle. It required resolve. Palace insiders described meetings marked by professionalism, where financial frameworks were discussed with legal precision rather than emotional rhetoric. The tone underscored a new era, one where royal governance would be guided by policies rather than personal relationships. The broader public reaction reflected growing expectations placed on the modern monarchy. Many saw William's decision as aligning with a wider demand for accountability in public institutions. The monarchy, supported by tradition and public trust, must demonstrate responsible stewardship of its resources. By acting decisively, William positioned himself as a guardian of that trust. The move also reinforced the concept of the royal family, while bound by personal ties, operates as an institution whose decisions carry national significance. In this context, the suspension of financial support was interpreted not as a family dispute, but as a statement of governance, Inside the palace, the restructuring created a ripple effect. Departments responsible for estate management, charitable allocations, and administrative budgets began tightening oversight. Financial approvals now required additional verification, and advisory committees were tasked with evaluating long-standing arrangements. The shift represented more than a single decision. It was a beginning of a broader transformation in how resources were monitored. William's leadership style, methodical, disciplined, and forward-looking, became increasingly evident. He appeared determined to modernize not only financial policies but also the culture of decision-making within the royal household. The revelations themselves continued to cast a long shadow. They served as a reminder that personal histories, when intersecting with public institutions, can influence perception and credibility. William's response demonstrated his awareness of this reality. By acting swiftly, he sought to prevent uncertainty from undermining confidence in the monarchy. His approach balanced firmness with discretion, ensuring that reforms were implemented without escalating tensions into public conflict. This measured response strengthened his image as a leader capable of navigating both family sensitivities and institutional responsibilities. As the weeks progressed, analysts began to interpret the episode as a defining moment in William's preparation for kingship. The decision to cut off funds was not merely administrative. It was symbolic of a leadership philosophy rooted in accountability. It suggested that the future monarch would prioritize stability, transparency, and disciplined governance. The monarchy, shaped by centuries of tradition, was adapting to contemporary expectations under his influence. The transformation was subtle yet profound, emphasizing that the survival of the institution depends on its ability to evolve. Ultimately, the story transcends individual personalities. It illustrates how the monarchy balances heritage with reform, loyalty with responsibility, and family ties with institutional integrity. Prince William's decisive action stands as a powerful example of leadership in a moment of uncertainty. By confronting difficult circumstances and implementing structural change, he reinforced the principle that the crown's credibility must always come first. And in doing so, he signaled a future where the monarchy remains rooted in tradition, yet guided by modern standards of accountability, transparency, and unwavering commitment to protecting its legacy. The decision to sever financial ties did not occur in isolation. It unfolded within a broader climate of heightened scrutiny surrounding the monarchy's internal governance. As the revelations from Camilla's former husband continued to reverberate, palace officials began quietly reassessing the mechanisms through which discretionary funds had historically been distributed. For decades, such arrangements had relied heavily on precedent and personal trust, but Prince William's intervention signaled a decisive break from that tradition. His directive demanded a structured review of financial commitments, emphasizing documentation, accountability, and alignment with the institution's core mission. This approach reflected a leadership style focus on modernization, one that recognizes the necessity of adapting centuries-old practices to contemporary expectations of transparency. The ripple effect was immediate. Financial advisors were instructed to conduct thorough audits, while administrative departments were urged to implement safeguards that would prevent any ambiguity in future allocations. Behind closed doors, the tone of discussion shifted from cautious diplomacy to methodical restructuring. William's strategy avoided public confrontation, yet its implications were unmistakable. By halting funds connected to Camilla's extended family, he underscored a fundamental principle. Royal resources must remain dedicated to official duties and public service, not private affiliations. This measured action conveyed both firmness and restraint, demonstrating that leadership within the monarchy increasingly relies on procedural authority rather than emotional response. Observers noted that the move reflected William's broader vision for a streamlined institution, one where clarity replaces assumption, and where financial stewardship becomes a cornerstone of credibility. The decision, while controversial, resonated with a public increasingly attentive to how prominent institutions manage their resources. The emotional dimension of the episode also carried weight. Within any family, financial adjustments can create tension, and the royal household is no exception. Yet William's determination suggested a willingness to prioritize institutional stability over short-term harmony. His actions illustrated the delicate balance required of a future monarch, maintaining respect for family ties while safeguarding the integrity of the crown. Advisors described his approach as calm yet resolute, emphasizing that the changes were not personal but structural. By framing the decision in terms of governance, William ensured that the narrative focused on reform rather than conflict. This careful positioning allowed the monarchy to present a unified public face. Even as internal dynamics evolved today as the restructuring progressed, additional measures reinforced the shift. Oversight committees expanded their roles, requiring more rigorous evaluation of proposed expenditures. Long-standing arrangements were revisited, and new protocols introduced to ensure that all financial decisions aligned with the monarchy's strategic priorities. This transformation reflected a broader cultural change within the institution, one that values efficiency, clarity, and accountability. William's leadership during this period demonstrated an understanding that public trust depends not only on tradition, but also on demonstrable responsibility. The reforms therefore serve both practical and symbolic purposes, signaling that the monarchy is capable of adapting to modern expectations while preserving its heritage. The broader implications of the episode extend beyond the immediate controversy. By taking decisive action, William positioned himself as a reformer committed to strengthening the institution's foundations. His decision conveyed that the monarchy's longevity depends on disciplined governance and transparent management of resources. The message was clear. Personal relationships, however significant, cannot override the principles that sustain public confidence. In this sense, the event became a defining moment in William's evolution as a leader. It illustrated his readiness to confront complex challenges and implement structural changes that secure the monarchy's future. Ultimately, the narrative reveals a monarchy in transition, moving from reliance on tradition alone toward a model grounded in accountability and strategic oversight. Prince William's decision to cut off funds, prompted by startling revelations, stands as a powerful demonstration of this shift. It highlights the growing importance of transparency, the need for clear boundaries between personal and institutional interests, and the determination to preserve the crown's credibility. As the dust settles, the episode leaves a lasting impression. The future of the monarchy will be shaped not only by ceremony and lineage, but by decisive leadership, disciplined governance, and an unwavering commitment to integrity that as the internal adjustments continued, the significance of Prince William's decision began to resonate far beyond the palace walls. Analysts interpreted the move as part of a broader effort to redefine how influence operates within the monarchy. For generations, informal understandings had guided many internal arrangements, but William's intervention introduced a more formalized structure. This transition suggested that the future of royal governance would rely increasingly on documented agreements and clearly defined responsibilities. The emphasis on clarity transformed the narrative from one of controversy into one of evolution. Rather than reacting emotionally, William demonstrated that leadership in the modern era requires careful calibration, balancing respect for tradition with the necessity of reform. The quiet determination behind his actions reinforced his reputation as a figure willing to make difficult choices for the sake of long-term stability. Within the royal household, the changes also prompted reflection. Advisors and senior staff recognized that the decision marked a turning point in how resources will be managed moving forward. Financial planning became more deliberate, with increased emphasis on aligning expenditures with official duties. The process encouraged departments to evaluate priorities and ensure that allocations reflected the monarchy's public responsibilities. This shift did not diminish the institution's ceremonial grandeur. Instead, it strengthened its operational backbone. By introducing structured oversight, William effectively signaled that tradition and accountability are not opposing forces. They can coexist to create a more resilient institution. The transformation unfolded quietly, yet its impact was unmistakable. Shaping the culture of governance within the palace, public perception played an equally important role in amplifying the episode's significance. The monarchy operates under intense scrutiny, and decisions related to finances often carry symbolic weight. William's firm yet measured response demonstrated awareness of this reality. By acting decisively, he addressed potential concerns before they could erode public confidence. The move illustrated that the royal family, despite its historic privilege, remains attentive to contemporary expectations of responsibility. Observers noted that this approach reflected a generational shift, one in which transparency and accountability are viewed as essential to maintaining relevance. The decision therefore resonated not only as a family matter, but as a reflection of evolving leadership within one of the world's most visible institutions. The episode also highlighted William's strategic patience. Rather than responding immediately to sensational claims, he allowed the situation to unfold, gathering information and consulting advisors. This deliberate pace ensured that his eventual decision carried authority and credibility. By relying on procedure rather than impulse, he reinforced the principle that leadership must be grounded in careful consideration. The outcome demonstrated that calm, methodical action can be more impactful than dramatic confrontation. This measured approach strengthened his image as a steady hand guiding the monarchy through complex circumstances. As discussions continued, the broader implications became increasingly evident. The restructuring of financial arrangements set a precedent for future decisions, establishing clear boundaries between personal connections and institutional obligations. This precedent may influence how future monarchs approach similar challenges, reinforcing the importance of disciplined governance. William's decision thus extends beyond the immediate controversy, shaping the framework within which the monarchy will operate in years to come. It underscores the idea that leadership involves not only preserving tradition, but also refining it to meet modern standards. Ultimately, the story captures a moment of transformation. Prince William's decisive action, prompted by unexpected revelations, reflect a commitment to safeguarding the monarchy's credibility. By prioritizing accountability and implementing structural reforms, he demonstrated a forward-looking vision for the institution's future. The episode serves as a reminder that even within the most tradition-bound environments, change is inevitable and often necessary. Through calm determination and strategic clarity, William positioned himself as a leader prepared to navigate both family complexities and institutional responsibilities. In doing so, he reinforced the enduring message that the strength of the crown lies not only in its history, but in its ability to adapt, evolve, and uphold integrity in the face of challenge. The unfolding developments continued to reshape perceptions of authority within the royal household, revealing how leadership is often defined not by dramatic declarations, but by deliberate structural decisions. Prince William's stance gradually influenced the rhythm of palace operations, prompting administrators to revisit long-standing financial traditions that had once been accepted without question. This quiet recalibration extended beyond a single funding stream. It encouraged a broader philosophy centered on responsibility and foresight. Advisors described an atmosphere of careful review, where each expenditure was examined not only for its historical basis, but also for its relevance to modern expectations. The message was subtle yet unmistakable. Heritage alone could no longer justify financial arrangements. Instead, purpose, transparency, and accountability would determine the direction of the monarchy's future. As weeks passed, the ripple effect became increasingly visible. Staff members responsible for coordinating royal engagements noticed a renewed emphasis on aligning activities with measurable outcomes. Charitable initiatives were evaluated for impact, administrative costs were streamlined, and financial reporting adopted a more systematic approach. William's leadership style, rooted in discipline and long-term planning, began to define the institutional culture. Rather than relying on informal understandings, decisions were now supported by documentation and collective consultation. This transformation did not diminish the monarchy's ceremonial identity. Instead, it strengthened its operational credibility. Observers noted that the quiet nature of these reforms made them even more significant. Change was occurring not through spectacle, but through sustained, thoughtful governance. The emotional undertone of the episode remained complex. Family relationships within the royal circle have always carried layers of history, loyalty, and expectation. William's actions, while focused on institutional integrity, inevitably touched on these sensitivities. Yet his measured approach prevented the situation from escalating into open conflict. By maintaining respect and discretion, he demonstrated that reform can coexist with diplomacy. This balance underscored a key aspect of modern leadership: the ability to navigate personal dynamics while upholding broader responsibilities. The calm execution of his decision reinforced the perception that William is preparing for future responsibilities with careful attention to both human and institutional factors. Public response further amplified the significance of the moment. In an era where transparency is increasingly valued, many viewed the restructuring as evidence that the monarchy is evolving. The decision suggested that even centuries-old institutions must adapt to maintain relevance. Commentators emphasize that William's actions align with broader societal expectations. Leaders must demonstrate accountability, regardless of tradition. This alignment strengthened public confidence, illustrating that the monarchy remains attentive to the values of the communities it represents. By addressing concerns proactively, William helped safeguard the institution's reputation and demonstrated an awareness of the delicate relationship between privilege and responsibility. The episode also revealed the strategic patience underlying William's leadership. Rather than reacting impulsively, he allowed discussions to unfold, consulted advisors, and relied on structured processes. This deliberate pace ensured that the reforms carried authority and durability. It highlighted a philosophy that values preparation over haste and clarity over confrontation. Such an approach, while less dramatic, often produces more enduring results. The calm, methodical nature of the decision-making process strengthened William's image as a steady and thoughtful leader capable of guiding the monarchy through complex challenges. As the restructuring settled into place, the broader narrative emerged as one of transformation. The monarchy, deeply rooted in tradition, was quietly adapting to contemporary realities. Prince William's decision symbolized this shift, emphasizing that leadership involves not only preserving heritage but also refining it. By introducing stronger oversight and redefining financial priorities, he set a precedent for future governance. The message extended beyond the palace. Institutions thrive when they evolve with integrity and purpose. In this context, the episode became more than a moment of controversy. It became a testament to resilience, modernization, and the enduring importance of principled leadership.